Hello and welcome to another episode of Instagram versus reality. If you're new here, this is the segment of the channel where we take a look at your favorite fakestagrammers and how they edit their photos into making you believe that they're the real deal. I know many of you have been asking for a full episode covering real-time editing, like with Twitch streamers and live streams, but that's in the works for the next episode. This week, all of the photos are from Instagram versus reality, the subreddit, so give them a visit for some extra context. I've upgraded my mic to a Rode NT1, and after hearing your complaints, I'll speak a bit slower so that things are a bit clearer this video. So I'm kinda excited, give me some feedback if that's good. As always, I'd like to put out the disclaimer that this video is simply meant to be informative and it's not targeted at harming or injuring anyone's brand or their image. If it's up on Insta, it's free game. Alrighty, let's start with an easy one. This one's such a cookie cutter example of your favorite influencers' travel pics, with hashtags such as Wanderlust and Travel Diary, when we both damn well know she's trying to show us her life is better than ours. If we take a quiet look at the waves, it's very odd that these run-up waves curve to the contour of her body, but these cresting waves are parallel to the shore. Unless there was some kind of hidden sand trap behind her out of view, there's no reason for water to take the path of most resistance and curve like that. I do work for Instagram influencers in my free time, so this is a very common type of liquify edit that I'd be asked to do, the majority of which are from big travel influencers selling bikini pics to thirsty men. It's true, I'm selling both the poison and the cure, but hey, that's capitalism. A better way to do this would be to create a freeze mask that tells the computer to leave the wave pixels alone, and only focuses on her. She must have done this with a very large brush, because all of the ripples follow the same direction, so my guess is that it was done with her thumbs on the Facetune app and not on Photoshop. Alright, see this next one? I wouldn't have called it out if it weren't for that extra cockiness. Look, if you're going to edit yourself, that's fine, but for the love of all things holy, be subtle about it, and definitely do not draw attention to it. Even the best in the industry, and I mean working for the top modeling agencies, admit that they can never do a perfect job in their edits, because they're limited by the pixels of their computer and not their own eyes. It's all about misdirection and praying that they don't notice. So right at the back, the bench is bending downwards, the walls are bulging outwards, and there's a huge amount of image artifacts. Also, this joinery seal on the floor is curving upwards, whereas the bench is curving downwards. This means that they're two different edits and that one was used to make her stomach flatter and the other to make her breasts larger. Moving on, we have another case of the infamous Adobe gains. You see, this one is a bit harder to spot. She's done a solid job with the liquify tool, and she's clearly used a freeze mask or something of the sort to make sure that this frame doesn't bend. She's wearing what I'm guessing is a black satin dress, so it should absorb most, if not all of the light hitting it. This region here I believe is unedited because the ripples of her dress cause light to reflect along it obliquely. This region here is edited because A, zooming in you can see a blur zone of heavy pixelation as the pixels surrounding her butt get mashed together. See how clearly the reflection here is? You can see the creepy masked doll in the reflection. What the hell does she have in her house? There's also an aura, which is another image artifact left behind after editing, because as I mentioned in a previous video, reflections are almost impossible to edit without leaving behind some kind of telltale sign. It's just too complex. B, the light hitting her butt goes downwards and not obliquely like the rest of her body. And for the most part, it's dissipated because the pixels that were showing the light became mashed together in the liquify tool soup. If anything, there should be more light on her butt because it's closer to the light source. When you have as many followers as Emily does, you can't make mistakes like that. You see, I get comments on my previous videos like, dude, you don't need to focus on the technicalities and these minute details, you can clearly tell it's edited. That's just what I assume they would sound like. The reason why I go into the finer details is to provide evidence of editing. I can clearly tell that this is edited, but if I just said, oh, here you go, it's edited, how? I don't know. Then I'd be no better than the thousands of other sensationalist drama channels. If it's not a clear-cut case of bending walls, then you might be able to tell me how it's edited, but you wouldn't be able to tell me why it's edited without these finer details. Sometimes people just post such blatantly bad edits that I can't help but think that the joke is on me. I mean, the gap between the panels tells you exactly what she's moved around in the liquify tool. A cinch at the waist here and a little sprinkle of Adobe gains there, and you know, the Photoshop fairy is basically all done. Oh, here's a good one that I've been meaning to show you all for a couple of weeks now. In Instagram Reality, episode 1, there were comments, not a lot but a few, that absolutely refused to believe that Kylie edited her photos at all, and it was all just a combination of bad angles, a long day at work making billions, as a self-made billionaire does, and bad lighting. In this photo, the door frame appears to be bending inwards, which, call me crazy, is an indicator of liquify tool use. It's also a good example to illustrate what I mean by image artifacts and blur zones, because to me that's the best evidence of liquify edits there is, and the majority of Instagram's users use this type of edit more than any other. Here's a not so quick recap. When you use the liquify tool in Photoshop or whatever app you're using, it converts all the pixels to a pixel distortion map with XY coordinates. When you move a pixel, it remaps it to a new coordinate, but the existing pixel that was already there doesn't get deleted. It either gets blurred or the two pixels get combined, resulting in image artifacts. There's an in-depth article on how the algorithm works in JavaScript in the description if you're really interested. In Kylie's edits, there's an aura of overlap pixels that forms around the door frame, because modern cameras pick up all shades of a shadow, meaning that when they overlap you get a distinct glow around the edited parts as pixels are combined. I don't even know why she did it. It was such a high risk for such a little reward. Isn't it strange how there's always these distorted lines, always around their hips? Maybe it's an artistic effect, because these lines are about as straight as James Charles. I can't see a single reason for editing the tiles here because it wouldn't affect her body, but this line here definitely indicates that her hips were widened. She has red pupils, and I think at this point she knew she f***ed up and just called it art. You know what annoys me? When people edit their photos and then put a motivational quote acting like it's au naturel. Her left elbow is 2 times as thick as her right. She's pulled her waist in from both sides. The problem is her arm got in the way, and so the liquify tool dragged those pixels along with it. Does this shape look natural to you? Straight? Sine wave. Now here's one for the boys. This gentleman has pulled his jaw outwards, causing the pole on the fence to bend. Now, this one throws in a bit of doubt, like 12 Angry Men. The singular pole is bent, but the other two are straight, meaning it was done with a fine brush to not disrupt anything else. There are 2 different types of inflections on the pole also, one here and one here, indicating 2 separate edits. This inflection here suggests that he's raised the skin underneath his jaw, where there's also a bit of pixel spillover, creating a blend in pixels from where his jaw ends and the background begins. His hyoid bone has also been raised because the shrub in the background curves in the same direction as his lower hyoid bone. Last bit of evidence to present to the jury is this blurring of light here. If you notice very carefully, as soon as I touch the pole with the liquify tool, it starts to instantly blur, and it's most noticeable on the bright white reflection, which turns into an off-white color. These poles are straightened and unedited, but the wavy pole has this off-white blurred effect in the original image, meaning it was tampered with. Your Honor, I rest my case. Alright, that brings another episode to a close. As always, leave a like because it does support the channel. I'll be putting out Defining Beauty episode 3 quite soon, where I cover how the nose influences your face shape, and the week after I believe it should be the jaw. Be sure to click the little notification bell so you can watch the videos. And follow me at Shafi if you like chill aesthetic vibes. That's kinda cool. Thank you.